Good morning. Welcome back to Impact on a Tuesday morning. Russell Thomas here with an old friend of mine who still looks young as a spring chicken, Kim Hurley.
Thank you, Russell.
Artistic Director of Generation Dance. Now, Kim and I go back so far, I don't even remember how far we go. Actually, it's probably...
Your radio days, I think.
Yeah, at least. Well, you came to town in the late 1990s.
I actually came into town long before that.
Oh, so that's when the company started.
The studio started,
okay.
in the late 1990s. Parents came here, in the late 70s, to be honest. So grew up here in the schooling system. And
yeah, you said you went to the School of Comp.
I did. Walking in here today, I was kind of like, wow, this is a flashback for sure.
This space that we were in was once the Industrial Arts
Room. I mean, we're talking in the, 1990, 1989,
wow.
90s. So, yeah, great.
So Kim is a revered teacher, designer, choreographer. I don't know, choreographer, designer. She designs dance, which is called choreography. We've worked together on multiple projects over the years. Keanu Theater Productions helped with a lot of your dance showcases.
Right.
And you guys right now are in the thick of it because you're about to launch... What do you call it? Your year-end recital?
We usually call it a year-end show,
okay.
Because it's much more than just a dance recital. So, we're in the thick of it. We actually just had our first night on stage last night, our first run-through. The show is actually called All You Can Eat this season. So it's a mixture of everything from Beauty and the Beast ballet with our Be Our Guest production number and, to young kids doing candy pieces to, some emotional things in the second act about eating disorders. And so it's a whole gamut of sticking to the theme of food/eating.
As a non-dance person, I do not dance, ask my wife. I have often been awed by the performances of Generation Dance Studio. And have often thought more people in our community, in our province, need to see it.
Right.
Do you feel that as an insider?
We get great attendance. And don't get us wrong.
Often sold out.
Yeah, for the most part. We try to sell out. We try to do as best as we can. But I think the audiences that we get are primarily students, parents, relatives, and friends. So, my intention now is to kind of gear everything more towards the community. So last season, we thought up of an idea of how can we help the community, and maybe that would also help get more audience members in our shows. So we looked and reached out to some of the operations in the city that needed help, and we found that we would start with the SPCA. So last season, our show was called Going Wild. And we had a silent auction in the lobby during the show. We also had live dogs on stage for adoption. And we actually had one actually be adopted before the show actually ended. So, which was great. And we raised almost $13,000 for the SPCA. So, going into this season, we start with a theme and we work our way around that. Now, going forward, we might have to find the organization that needs help and then develop the theme around the organization. But hitting the food bank this season was what was primarily in our minds. So we were there last week doing some video shoots and stuff. We've had an ongoing relationship since September. Once we think of the show, we, go ahead and contact them and tell them we would like to do this. So it was eye-opening because the shelves were very bare. And so there's a really needed time right now for us to be able to help them with our show. So we're hoping that, we can continue to do these types of shows, which would be a double bonus for us. So we would have people come from the community to watch and then also be able to help the community.
You've been doing this as an artistic director, as an owner of a company for almost 20 years. When you pull back and not be thinking of the detail of the show that's in front of you, but when you try to look objectively at the impact that the process of being in dance has on young people, what would you say? How does it affect young people, this process of starting as a young tyke, going right up until they leave here and go off to college?
I think the the first thing is, of course, they step into the studio sometimes at the age of 3 is their first encounter with us. And I think at our studio and most other studios in the city and across Alberta and the world, there's certain set of expectations. So, even teaching them how to be in a line at 3 years old and listen to instruction is some sort of impact on them. So they carry characteristics with them. I mean, as they progress and get older, there's responsibilities, there's commitments, there's a sense of self-confidence, there's a sense of performance confidence, which makes them good speakers, good workers, employable, stand-up citizens. A lot of these girls, they spend a lot of time focusing just on their dance and then trying to juggle that with their schoolwork. So again, another huge bonus of growing up in the dance world. I think when they leave, there's very few that I can say haven't turned out to be really outstanding in the communities, in, any city that they happen to go to, and do well in their schoolwork in colleges and universities. And at the same time, it also gives them a love for the arts, which sometimes a lot of young people don't really have hold of, right? So I think those primarily are the greatest things that happen at our school and others as well.
They focus a lot on dance, and there's been a number of occasions when you have invited them to come along with you to a Keanu Theatre production, and all of a sudden they're not just dancing, they're acting.
Yeah.
What was that like for them?
It's fantastic. I mean, I remember the first one we did many, many years ago. I had involved some of the students to come with me in order to, one, help the actors dance, because we weren't really sure, if that would go over well with, just trying to teach them one-on-one. So we brought them in primarily for that. And then the dancers started to learn from the actors. So it was a relationship that became, amazing and carried on for years. The kids love that. They love the world of theater is completely different to them, but I think it also highlights and helps them become better dancers. I think all of the backstage terminologies and the processes of theater are a little bit different than the processes of dance, but they're kind of a marriage anyways. But to give them any kind of experience on stage, one of our dearly beloved ballet teachers passed away this season, Miss Dara Jane Lake, with cancer, and we miss her dearly. But one of the things that she had always said was, any chance to be on stage is a chance to perform. So I always like to give the kids as much opportunities as we can in the community, and the relationship we have with Keanu Theatre, me as being choreographer and then my students as actors, has been awesome. And they've met so many friends like you and many others in the community that have been just awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to bump into them in the community now that they're getting older.
Yeah.
Because now some of those kids are adults. My guest this morning is Kim Hurley, Artistic Director of Generation Dance Studio. They are getting ready for their big year-end show called All You Can Eat. It is June 14th, 15th, 16th in the main theater at Keanu Theatre.
That's right.
And you can get your tickets through the Keanu box office. We're going to come back with more of Impact here on 91.1 The Bridge right after this. And welcome back to Impact. Our guest today, Kim Hurley, the Artistic Director of Generation Dance Studio. They are, I guess, in the final rehearsal process for the big show. The big show. And I don't even know what date it is today. Let me look on my phone. Okay, it's the 12th, so you're a couple of days away.
We are.
So today is Tuesday, so you open on Thursday night?
We do. Thursday night show, we have a Friday night show, and a Saturday afternoon.
And you know what? If you're listening and you don't have kids that are involved in dance and you love dance, you should come out because you will be blown away. I'm just making that prediction because I've often been blown away by the beauty and the creativity of the work that your kids do. Do you feel that being so close to it?
Yes, all the time. I mean, as the artistic director, you're sitting there watching last night their rehearsal, and of course you've got to find all the things that need work. It's really hard to just completely praise. But when we get into our final dress rehearsal on Wednesday and I sit back, I mean, we're constantly writing great little notes to them on little stars to give out because I'm in awe. I have a hard time teching the show with the text because I'm so like, wow, look at what this really turned out to be. So, but it does take a village. I mean, I have numerous people along with Keanu Theater that help me with everything, sound and lighting, to, over 50 or more parent volunteers in the back. We have over 200 students, so it gets to be a little chaotic at times, and, quick changes and props on and props off and media and all of these things that are happening. I couldn't do it alone. Yes, it is a vision that I create, and I am in awe of it, but I don't like to take all of the credit because it's hard.
A lot of work to go. The costumes,
yes.
You mentioned props because if you've never been to a dance program like this, it is very theatrical in nature.
Yes.
And it's not. People aren't speaking. Well,
yes.
Sometimes they do actually.
Yeah,
it depends on the routine, but it's very intensive.
Yes. Yeah. We I just attended the Mac Island Dance Show a couple days ago, and the props when they come on as an audience member, even myself, I found like, oh, this is the fun part, and so we like to utilize a lot of that. The staging of it and the dynamics of coming on and off sometimes are a little painful because you've got to get through all of, what it's like in theater, right? Yeah. So it's a little bit the same in dance. And so we have wonderful prop dads and prop moms and, people that help us with all of that because some of those sets are pretty heavy and, it can be a little dangerous. So they take care of the safety of the kids and the safety of the pieces and things like that. And they're a really stronghold for our school.
Tough question. I want you to go back in your memory banks and pull out 1, 2, or 3 of your favorite routines you've ever done.
Gosh. Well, I wish I would have known you were going to ask me this. I think my favorite routine of all time was a piece I did in my 5th year show, and I think it was Thriller. And so it was the first time I had ever incorporated media into my show. So we had some side screens with some pre-video work. Julian No was my Dancer of the Year. I think he was only about 13 or 14 years old, if that. We had these amazing contacts in his eyes that turned different color and made him look white. Like all the things we put into that show were kind of a turn of technology for everybody. So, we had wonderful dancers. We stayed with some of the traditional Michael Jackson moves. The costuming was fabulous. The staging, the lights, the smoke show, the grave sites. And it was wonderful. That definitely stands out. That one is on our YouTube channel, I believe, at GDS Dance. Another favorite show that I did an opening, Come Fly With Me. It was kind of like a musical theater, and that was the first time we had ever really stepped over into the theater side of things. This was prior to me working at Keanu Theater as choreographer, so I just really fell in love with musical theater at that point, and I think it was, wow, this is fantastic. This is really something that, I think is going to be something I'm interested in years to come. So they were all dressed as, stewardesses, and things were happening with their jazz moves and stuff that made it really theatrical. So when I think about a third one, I think it's going to be this show. I think it's going to be Beauty and the Beast. I was left with a huge responsibility after our ballet teacher had passed away, getting anybody here in our community at that late in the season to take over our program was quite difficult. So we brought in another young lady, Miss Alexandra Fontaine, and some of our senior students came in and started instructing for us, and we got through the ballet exams, we got through our ballet, and I remember talking to DJ and saying, what am I going to do? I'm not seasoned enough in the program yet. I need to learn the curriculum more before I can teach it and I can do the ballet, but she was the guru, she was the one, and she had certain faith in me that said, you can do this, turn it into a musical ballet, which is exactly what I did. And so it's theater meets ballet meets lighting, props, staging. So if anything, I would love for people just to come and see that. The kids are going to love it. The costuming is fabulous. So
you mentioned Julian, his sister Cassandra, and there's other names that are going to come to me that have gone on to careers in dance. But do you have any sense as to the number of people that students that have worked with you in Generation Dance Studio that have gone on to do dance?
Many. There's some you don't even hear from, and then you're on in social media and you see that they've opened a yoga studio somewhere in Alberta or Canada, or they're teaching at a studio or whatever. I mean, I would say well over a dozen or more are actually making a career out of dance, which is the goal for us, artistic directors and teachers and choreographers who work with kids for many years, is to hopefully one day, but we also realize that it's not realistic for a lot of them too, and some of them just want to have that experience in their school age years. But again, like you asked me previously, I think it really teaches them a sense of they can go on and do whatever with all of these great skills they've learned as a dance student all these years. So yeah, I have a few in John Sesnick. He is in Vancouver. Ali Lalonde, she is in Vancouver. Cassandra and Julian are doing fantastic. Both of them have been on the movie The Descendants. They're both working a lot more film. I find they tend to say that it gets a little rough in the dance world out there. So the more tricks they can put in their bag, the easier it is for them. So I'm really happy and happy with everyone. We have some local instructors here that are doing great that come from our studio. Some entrepreneurs starting up. So very, very happy with the ball we've been rolling for so many years, and I don't ever want it to stop. That's the goal.
I think the thing that shocks isn't the right word, that amazes me about the dance mind is the ability, and we saw it with the students in Hometown, we saw it in Les Mis, is their ability to have the series of movements imprinted in their brain in such a way that the connection between the brain and the body was it was just fluid.
Yeah.
Where for guys like me, who were not trained as dancers, it was painful. It really, truly was. And I liken it to an interview I did once with a football player from the Edmonton Eskimos. I can't even remember his name. But he was talking about a play from 1992 or whatever. And he knew it and remembered in complete detail, like it was imprinted on his brain.
Right.
Talk about the dancer brain.
The dancer brain.
The brain that you're trying to develop in these young people.
Right. Well, I think, a lot of the students, they start with us quite young. So it's like anything. It's like any sport, any tool that you're learning. If you're starting young enough and it's a repetitive thing going on and on, it gets to be part of your brain, like you say, A lot of these kids, once they hit the age of 6, are doing 10 to 12 hours of dancing a week if they're thinking of competitive. Yeah. But even our recreational program, which is fantastic, I have to add, we do have a recreational program. Sometimes being the longest studio here and, with all of our successes and stuff, people think that we're just competitive. We're not. We have a great recreational program for those kids that just want to dance once a week. So I just think with time and repetitiveness, it happens. We have certain exercises that help the brain and, their flexibility, visuals, going out, taking them out in the, the city and stuff and letting them see lots of stuff. I sometimes wonder too, but again, goes hand in hand. The more they are engulfed in dancing and having to remember, it's almost like the more their schoolwork becomes, better at remembering and studying and things like that. So, I don't know. I look at them now at my age too, and I think, how do you guys do it?
The arts develop great humans. I think that's the long and the short of it. My guest this morning is Kim Hurley, Artistic Director of Generation Dance Studio. They're getting ready for their year-end show coming up on Thursday night called All You Can Eat. It's also Friday and Saturday night. We're going to take a break, come back with more. A lot of other exciting things happening this summer with Generation Dance Studio that you might be very interested in. Impact is a team effort of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray. We've got Trina and Matt here helping us out today. YMM Magazine helps us out, as well as the folks right here at 91.1 The Bridge. It is a joy to have Kim Hurley in the studio today, Artistic Director with Generation Dance Studio. Kim, You've been doing this for almost 20 years.
We're not there yet,
but yes. I'm trying to do the math on, you said, I think, the number of kids that are involved in this year's year-end show is like well over 100, you said?
Well over 200.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah.
How many kids have touched your studio in 20 years?
Oh, gosh.
Any
let's
idea?
do the math.
Well,
I used to take over 400 or 500 kids at one time. And then as you get older, you kind of just wean off a little bit. And,
I resemble that remark.
Yeah, and other facilities, had opened, so it kind of took the pressure off us a little bit. But I don't know, do the math.
That's thousands and thousands of
I'm
kids.
sure.
Wow.
I'm sure everybody in their time has either heard or been to Generation Dance Studio.
But I get the sense that you're not taking the pressure off the pedal. You've got a busy summer ahead as soon as your show is done. So talk about a little bit about first of all, your summer intensive and maybe the 2 camps that you have coming up.
Sure, yeah. Our summer intensive is a week-long intensive that we're holding at Keanu Theatre. We basically have 7 instructors coming from all over Canada, primarily Vancouver, Toronto area. We have a local dance instructor, alumni, kind of young lady, Miss Julie Funk, who used to instruct a lot of dance here as well as yoga, coming to instruct. We have Sarah Nyman, who is a local voice coach, who will be doing some voice work with the kids. And then we have some great hip-hop people in the industry, some great tap instructors. All of this is on our website at www.gdsdance.com. But basically, this camp is 7 hours of classes a day. We do give them breaks, but it's the greatest week for your money. And we have all genres: tap, jazz, ballet, the whole gamut. So July 15th to the 20th at Keanu Theatre, and again, you can register on our website for that. Our other things that we're opening up this season, we've used to do these a long time ago back in the day. I remember when I first started, and it was great. It was fantastic. Our summers started to become a lot more busier, so we pulled back, but we're bringing back our dance camps for young kids. And the first one we're offering is called the Princess and Prince Camp. And basically that's running from July 9th to the 12th. It's from 9:30 in the morning till 1 for ages 3 to 6. We have wonderful helpers giving us some of their time to go do some arts and crafts. We have some movies. We'll have a little performance and some pizza at the end of the week. But they'll learn most of the beginning stages of dance. And then if they have some experience, we'll elaborate on that. And the other one we're doing is called our Little Dudes and Little Divas. The hip-hop world is out of control. So it seems like kids are really getting involved because of the shows on TV and wanting to really step into the world of dance, primarily hip-hop. It's one of the easiest to get into. That one's running August 13th to the 16th with the same kind of idea, having 4 days, 9:30 to 1 for ages 3 to 6. So all of those, again, are on our website. They just have to go to www.gdsdance.com and hit the register link. And if they have any problems, they can always email us and we can help them out. So they are filling up fast, though. I do have to say that. We've been promoting it for a while now, and we do have almost 20 or so spots left. But I'm assuming by the end of this week, that might not be an option.
What continues to light your fire? You've been doing this for several decades. Not to make you sound old like me, but
yeah,
you've been at it for a while. What continues to inspire you to do this?
I think the inspiration is just embedded in me. I don't think there's a whole lot of reasoning behind it except that I love dance. I love creating. I love owning a business. I love making kids, feel accomplishments that they go through. I love seeing them accomplish things. I love the trust that people have in me. I love being able to trust others. So, the whole world is just what I don't know, I'm drawn to. And I used to think, post-fire or even a little bit pre-fire that, is there still a place for me? We get older. Are we, irrelevant? And this season, without tearing up a little bit, I can tell you that is not an option for me to peace out. I'm meant to be here in this community to do the work that I do. And I don't think that is going to change for a very long time, Russell. Yeah,
you could see the fruits of Kim's labor this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night at Keanu Theatre. It's all you can eat, the year-end show. of Generation Dance Studio. Over 200 kids on the stage doing some pretty incredible things. Well, thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming and sharing your story and all that you've done over many, many years. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
My guest this morning has been Kim Hurley, Artistic Director of Generation Dance Studio. Impact is a team effort of United Way, Fuse Social, Shaw TV, Fort McMurray. Big thanks to Trina and to Matt for being here today to capture our beautiful faces. We also get great support from YMM Magazine. There's a column that happens in every issue about this show. And of course, none of this would not be possible, would be possible, I can't even talk, if Steph wasn't sitting right there pushing all the buttons, and all the folks here at 91.1 The Bridge.